You know that feeling when you're staring either at a blank page, a new opportunity, or a big decision that you need to make, and suddenly it's absolutely terrifying, almost like you're afraid of mess it up even before you begin. It's exciting, but it's also overwhelming. That's what failure feels like. The fear of making the wrong decision, the wrong move, wasting time, proving to yourself or others that maybe in fact you are not good enough. But what if failure wasn't something to fear? What if it was actually the key to success? In this video, we're going to break down why failure feels so scary, mindset shifts that will change the way you think about the failure, and 3 simple actions that you take today, this week, and this month to start embracing failures as a stepping stone and not the end of the world. We are wired to avoid failure by any means possible. For example, when we're at schools, bad mistakes mean that there is something wrong with us. That means that we're gonna get punished. That means that we're gonna be sent to bed without dinner or dessert. If at school, failing at something meant just that, when we are adults and we fail at something, we also tend to punish ourselves because that's what we were preconditioned to do since we grew up. It also might seem as a sign to stop doing what you're doing, but that is actually the wrong way of looking at things. Imagine a painter staring at a blank canvas. They are afraid to mess this up because it looks so perfect, so innocent, but the only way of succeeding is to start, even if that means messing things up and making mistakes along the way. Failure feels scary because we were preconditioned to associate that with something bad, with shame, disappointment, and rejection. But in reality, we need to think of failure as just raw data. It's just information telling us what didn't work, what we can adjust, and most importantly, try again. Think of failure as an experiment. Imagine a scientist giving up after just one test. We probably wouldn't have technology, medicine, and things that we have right now if people actually gave up trying. And implement the same mindset shift for your life. Think of everything that you do as an experiment. If it didn't work this time, adjust and try again. Remember that every failure, meaning every experiment, is just teaching you something new. Failure is the proof that you are trying, and I am so proud of you for that. The only people who never succeed are the ones who never try. They are also the ones, ironically, who never fail. If you failed, it also means that you have courage, so much courage to try something new that you didn't know how to do. And that is already a huge win. We often think that when we fail, it's also a sign that we should just stop trying and it's not meant for us. But I want you to shift that perspective. If Steve Jobs gave up after being fired from Apple, we probably wouldn't experience the world the way we experience it right now with iPhones and all the Apple technology that we have. If Oprah gave up after being told that she wasn't fit for TV, we probably wouldn't have one of the most successful TV personalities that we currently have. Now, she probably wouldn't be teaching us all these things that she taught throughout her failures, throughout her lives. Failure is actually not good or bad. It's neutral, just like everything else that we experience. We ourselves add color to the things that happen to us or for us. So I want you to think of failure as just a simple event that happened. So when we see as something bad, as something horrible that happened to us, we lose our power and we give that event the power over us. Ultimately, we are actually losing, and that prevents us from trying again. So when we see failure as something neutral, we are actually taking the power back and we are actually embracing it and able to shift from that event and understand what we can do next. I want you to also understand that most successful people fail the most. Imagine how many authors and books and titles that we have today, how many times they had to struggle, how many times their books were rejected before they actually got the success that they currently have. So the difference between all other people who gave up after a couple tries is that those successful people actually didn't give up trying. Failure is also a way to test us whether we actually want something, whether we actually able to keep pushing, to keep trying, even when nobody's watching, even when nobody cares. Because I think ultimately universe is testing us to see whether we are fit to achieve, to be, and to do what we are dreaming of. Because at the end of the day, when we achieve that things, when we become what we want to become, the life is not gonna get easier. There's gonna be more complex failures, so to speak. There are gonna be more complex events and things that we need to navigate through. So if you give up after, say one of your videos didn't get as many views as you thought, if you can't navigate this little event, how can you navigate bigger things that might happen to you when you become a successful social media influencer? Think of these failures again as a stepping stone to teach you more about yourself, to teach you more on how to deal with things, so you ultimately can be that person that you want to be. Every time you fail and get back up, you prove yourself that you are capable, you prove yourself that you are resilient, you prove yourself that you are strong. You prove yourself once again that you can handle setbacks. And most importantly, when you have that proof within yourself, that's how you're able to build confidence to try hard things and to ultimately be okay with failure again. Essentially, failure becomes less scary, and when failure becomes less scary, it's easier for you to try again, and it's easier for you to try new things and achieve results. We also tend to take failure personally, that it's some sort of indication that there is something wrong with us. But failure does not define you, and it does not define your worth. Once again, I want to repeat that. Failure does not define your worth. Your worth does not change whether you fail or succeed. The failure and ultimately what happened, it just essentially tells you what you did or didn't do and how you can navigate that and how you can shift and how you can do better next time. Fear of failure is often fear of judgment. Many times we might not be actually afraid of failing itself. We might be actually afraid of what others will think, how others will perceive us, and most importantly, what others will say. And that comes from your upbringing. So for example, for me, I grew up in Eastern Europe, and I don't know if you guys are aware or not, but we have a lot of grandmas, that's like a meme, that sit in front of the apartment buildings and they know what's going on. We also have very strong communities, but there's also a lot of things going on that people talk about each other a lot, unfortunately. And there are a lot of unfortunate things that being told about each other. And that is always the biggest fear of others, especially of, for example, for myself, is my parents and grandparents. When I was growing up, I would always hear, it's like, oh my God, what others will think. Oh my God, what others will say about this event. So it was so much pressure put on you to not disappoint your parents, but also to keep that playing at the same level, so to speak. So you would kind of stay on the same level and ultimately wouldn't get worse. But it also ties to the same thing as if you are successful, some people also hide that because, oh my God, others will judge, others will think about maybe some bad ways on how you achieved that success, because that's what automatically everybody assumes. But that's probably a topic for next time as to why we can also be afraid of success deep inside. So I want you to shift that. And if you're struggling with that, like I am actually struggling with that, I want you to journal on that as much as possible. Just do a brain dump, and honestly, you will get so many aha moments about this. For example, like I did, and it's pretty hard to navigate that as long as you're aware of it. That's when you start to heal that part of yourself, and that's when you start to make that progress. And most importantly, I want you to remind once again, you probably heard it millions of times, but people are so busy about thinking about themselves, about thinking on how they are perceived by others, by what others will think, that they probably won't have a lot of time to think about you and what's happening in your life. And even if they do, it's probably just an indication of their shadows and what is being triggered them. So again, it's not always about you, but it's always about that person who is judging you or says unfortunate things about you or what you are doing or what's going on in your life. So just remember that. And ultimately, you are living your own life. You're making your own choices and you're living your life for yourself and not for somebody else. So your failures are your responsibility and your life is your responsibility, is to make the most out of it and get the life that you want. I also want you to think of failure as something good that happened to you, because imagine if you were in a bad relationship and you think that you failed at that relationship, at least at a time, or maybe you're going through a breakup right now. But down the road, you're probably gonna look at that failure and you're gonna be so grateful that it actually happened to you, that you are in a better place than you were at that time. So even if right now it seems impossible, it seems like there is no way out, it seems like you're going through the most excruciatingly painful time of your life, it will get better. And the reason why I know this is because I went through the same thing. I went through a horrible breakup and I thought it was the end of the world and I thought that I would be miserable for the rest of my life. In fact, that's what my ex-partner told me at a time, that I will be forever single and lonely for the rest of my life. But I am actually grateful for that experience. I am actually grateful, as weird as it sounds, for the things that happened to me, because I am able to grow, I am able to get better, I am able to share this with you and hopefully encourage you to keep living your life, keep doing what you're doing, and most importantly, do not lose hope. Failure is something that can be seen as a blessing. So mindset shifts are great, but what are we actually going to be doing with all that information and how we can actually shift ourselves from thinking of failure as something bad to thinking of failure as a stepping stone and actually being able to try things and do things. So here's a simple plan for you. Take 5 minutes to write something at what you recently failed and try to think of lessons that it taught you. If you were actually able to fix the situation or make the situation better, write how you did that and write what helped you to do that. Also, look at this failure and ask yourself if it helped you grow and if it helped you to become better at something. Reframing your past failures makes them less scary and also allows you to be okay with future failures. This week, I want you to do something small where failure is a possibility. So, for example, applying for a job, posting a video, maybe inviting that person out for coffee, maybe trying a new hobby or painting a picture, but pick something little that you can do and ultimately experience a failure. But the goal also here is to take action regardless of being afraid of failing. And after you do that action, whether you fail or not, just reflect how you feel and reflect again on what it taught you or what opportunities it brought you. This might sound weird, but set a goal where a failure is going to be inevitable. So, for example, applying to 10 jobs, even noting that you're probably going to fail at 10 of them, or sending emails to some brands that you want to work with, even knowing that some might not respond. When you set these kind of goals, you're actually taking the pressure off yourself to be perfect, and you are allowing yourself to try, and you're also allowing yourself to navigate the situation, ultimately brainstorm ideas to kind of prove yourself wrong, that maybe you're not going to fail and maybe you are going to get a response. So this is an opportunity for you to actually be creative, because when we kind of know that we might fail, at the same time, we do not care about how we do things. And that's what can allow us, as counterintuitive as it sounds, to kind of like get to that state of flow and actually try things for the sake of trying and not for the sake of the outcome. So I want you to do just that. By doing all these things, you will actually be able to see future opportunities and things that you need to do, especially new things that you haven't done before, with less fear. And you probably wouldn't even think of the outcome as failing. You would probably think of the outcome as like, okay, this is a win because I tried, and regardless of the outcome, I'm gonna learn something and I'm probably gonna get some opportunities out of that experience. I want you to remember that failure, despite what everybody thinks, is not the opposite of the success. It's just part of it, because without a failure, we wouldn't actually experience what success is. If you're failing, you're learning. If you're failing, you're growing. If you're failing, you're trying and ultimately winning. Most importantly, when you're failing, you're still ahead of other people who are not trying or doing something because they're so terrified of failure. Please let me know in the comment section down below what one failure that actually helped you to be in a better place than you are right now. Let's share our stories and remind ourselves that it's okay to fail.